back to the Toffee Blues, your source for all things Everton. I'm joined here by Callum Brannan, and we'll just be going through the transfer window, doing a roundup, talking about a couple of the ins, a couple of the outs, and just discussing what we liked, what we didn't like about the window. So, Cal, what would you rather us start with, mate, the ins or the outs?
I think the outs have been a bit more impactful for the summer, let's say. I think we start with the outs and then, because I think from the ins that we do have, it will actually let us end on a positive. So I think we
Not a
end on a
problem.
positive and get the outs out of the way.
Not a problem. Well, there's for all of the outs, there are a couple that left on freeze. Pennington, Theo Walcott, Josh Bowler, Callum Connolly, Joshua King, Yannick Balassi, and Mohamed Bezic was released. We won't go through all of them because some of them it's very hard to talk about because they hardly made any appearances. I'm thinking in terms of Callum Connolly, but Theo Walcott, Joshua King, and Yannick Balassi are big wages, and to an extent, Bezic was at the club for a long time. But those three in particular have been at the club on quite big wages. How beneficial do you think it is that we've finally seen them go out the door?
Yeah, massively, because it frees up a big bit of our wage budget, and it's something that clearly the club's been wanting to do, and I think it's not all out of the way yet, as proven from the stuff with FFP. But I think getting rid of all these wages with another player we'll move on to later, I think it's a massive, it's a massive, not a hit, a massive, trying to think, improvement. Let's just say for the club, it's put them in a better position for next season when we're actually allowed to spend our money. We'll have a lot of wages freed up, and that obviously doesn't even include current players leaving too. But I think it's a mixed bag when you look at the players. Really, Theo Walcott was good in bursts. I don't think he was as bad as the fans made out sometimes. I think he did his job, but I think just the money we paid him was a bit stupid. I think back to the Man United game where we won 4-0. He's really good in that. I think, there's a few games where I can't pick them off. The United one, top of my head, because it's probably best football performance I've seen from Everton, arguably this decade, the past. So, but I do think it's, I think it's a good thing. I think his performances with Southampton helped too, because he played decently for Southampton, which meant they were happy to just pick him up straight away. Made the process easy for us. I think the one that hurts the most is Balassi, because we all expected something from Balassi, didn't we? When did we sign him? 4 or 5 years ago, 5 or 6.
Yeah, it was during the Steve Walsh era, as is a couple of these, to be fair.
Yeah, 30 million. I think even at the time we thought it was overpriced, but at Palace, him, Zaha, and was it still Benteke then? I think.
Yeah, and Dwight Gale as well.
Dwight Gale, they were a decent attack for a Premier League side with lower mid-table. I think we fell for the hype, the highlight reels, and Yannick Balassi, I always call him a FIFA player. It's one of those players that got a lot of hype because of how good he was on FIFA and stuff like that. He's just one of those. But yeah, I think it's the money and what fans expected coming in. It was a big blow. He never really performed. To be honest with you, you might be able to think of one, but I can't really think of many standout Yannick Balassi performances. One thing I can say though is he was a really good person to have in the club. His interactions on social media, he always seemed to be willing to give a helping hand in the community and stuff. So I do wish the best for Balassi, but I do think we also expected a lot more from the transfer.
Yeah, I mean, I can't remember off the top of my head a distinct moment. I think he looked good in bursts. I do remember watching them once. I think it was in a European game, and I was watching the half-time bit. And they come on and just mess about. It was Balassi and another player just kicking it along the pitch at Goodison, and he was taking the ball on his, on the lower back, controlling it that way. And that was probably the one distinct memory I have of him. Just because it was, it was a bit of fun. He was keeping the crowd entertained, but it was during the halftime bit. So that's the only bit which doesn't really put his Everton career in a very high light from me. But no, I mean, a lot of these ended on a free, which unfortunately means we took a massive loss in terms of transfer fee. Not so much some of the younger lads because they were academy, a couple of them. But, Balassi, Josh King was a clever one. I don't think we lost anything there. Balassi, like you said, we've lost a lot of money. Bezic, we've lost a little bit of money. But you'd hope this is the sort of change because, like I pointed out, a couple of those are Steve Walsh-esque signings. So you'd hope now with moving forward. That's the one thing I will say about brands. Not many people have left yet that, so you can compare them. And the ones that do are like Bernard, he's gone now and his wages pretty much sorted out. So I think that's what also holds brands yet is the prices he gets for players coming out, which we will get onto now. But we'll talk about the man I've just mentioned, the Brazilian. I was really excited when we signed him. It's a shame it didn't go how I wanted. Bernard, 900k to Sharahat FC. Do you think this was a good bit of business by the club?
Yeah, because we're not paying any of his wages, I don't think. We've managed to get rid of every single penny of his wages. It's like the Schneiderlin thing. We lost a lot. Well, I don't know. We signed Bernard on a free. So we just probably lost the wages we paid him, which obviously was a lot, and the signing on bonus, but I think Bernard's a bit of a what if case. I think Bernard was a good player. I think Bernard still is a good player. I'm very surprised he went to the UAE. I think he's probably could still offer a European team something. I really do. I think he showed it, for example, against Tottenham. He was fantastic against Tottenham when he played in the Cup. His finish was, it was striker-esque for the goal. But I think it's a good bit of business from brands because in the end, that 900,000 was half of what we paid for Damari Gray, over half of what we paid for Damari Gray. And if you take the wages out, we probably were able to sign. I think Bernard probably pays Gray's, Townsend, and Begovic's wages. Just getting rid of his wages probably pays all three of them with some space left. So I think it's a good move, and I think a lot of Everton fans probably sit back and go, "Well, I wish we could have got more for him." Because at first, I think there were rumours of a few European teams paying like 8 million for him, but the big problem was they wanted us to still pay some of his wages. So I think it's good business from brands to get rid of all of his wages, kind of like it's like the Balassi thing, the Schneiderlin thing previously, the Walcott thing. We're getting rid of decently chunky wages, maybe for low prices, but we're not having to pay any of the wages following on, which is, I think, one thing Brands does very well. He gets rid of the players with no extra baggage left in the club.
Yeah, I mean, I'm a bit gutted that it never turned out quite the way it was for Bernard because I really do like him. I thought the only like one real negative that I think he was very much due was sometimes I wish he'd take shots a little bit more. I don't know how to explain it, but sometimes I thought he always, I don't want to say lacked that final pulling of the trigger, but sometimes I was just infuriated watching him. But he has one of the better first touches I've ever seen, and just the skill he had to take it away from players. I really did like him, so I was a bit gutted when he left. But I mean, like you said, we've got a bit of money, we've got a wages off. It was a free transfer, so we've not lost anything. It's not quite the Yannick Bolasie state where we've lost 30 odd million. Moving down the list, though, we've got we'll do both of these in the same light, just because they're both two young lads that showed a lot of potential, and I was quite surprised that they went. Dennis Adoniran and Benny Beningame. Adoniran's gone to Sheffield Wednesday on an undisclosed fee, and Benny Beningame to Hearts on an undisclosed fee. Were you shocked to see these two lads go?
Not Azaran. I don't think he played enough. I think he was. He's the Nigerian midfielder, isn't he?
Yeah.
Yeah. I think he was one of those players where he has a lot of potential, but you don't see much in the first team. And I think as an Everton fan, we'll both know I try now not to hype the players until I see them in the first team. I try not to because I just know that the direct path to the first team for some reason is really muddled for a club with an academy as decent as ours. Because in the end, for example, Adarim being a decent Premier League player would have been good enough for us because he could have come off the bench. But the one that really hurts to personally is Banningham. He's still 22. I still think I think he will be a starting defensive midfielder in the Premier League in a few years' time. He's gone over to Hearts, and I believe in his first game he won man of the match, didn't he?
Yeah,
He was
I was
really
watching
good. Even I know it's a bit of a crap example. I went to watch the Everton under-23s against Bradford Park Avenue, a local team to me, and he came on and really impressed. I think even when he played, he played a few times for the first team. He was
Yeah,
pretty decent.
it was the Chelsea game that I'll always remember. He slid, put a proper 50-50 tackle in, and then nutmegged. I can't remember. I think it might have been Upper Aspilicueta, but that was the standout moment for me watching him do that. I thought he was a really impressive player, not afraid of a tackle either. Which to Everton fans, that will get you over with Everton fans so much.
Yeah, it definitely will. And I think I don't think we've lost much now because we're very stacked in midfield, and I don't think he would have got into the first team. I don't think there was an open path for him. So I think this is better for his career. I'll definitely be keeping an eye on his career in the future when he ends up becoming a world-class midfielder and biting us in the backside. But yeah, it's a difficult situation because I think it was the right thing to do. He was 22. He was still stuck playing under football. And we sent him out on loan a few times, and I don't think he was ever really able to find his feet at any of the loan clubs because it was a loan. I think Hearts, I think he's going to have a fantastic season in the Scottish Premiership. To be honest, I think he'll only be at Hearts for 1 year. I think I could see him putting in a fantastic season and moving to Rangers or Celtic or to the Championship next season. I really do. I rate him really highly. And as I've said, I can happily put hand on heart and guarantee that 4 to 5 years' time, he'll be consistently starting in the Premier League for another team. I'm not saying that's going to be a big six side. It might be like a Watford, a Brentford if they're still open, Norwich. But in the end, I do think he's got that talent. I think he's good enough. He's got the heart. He's got the passion. And I do think he's got a decent bit of technical ability in him. So I think personally, that's besides obviously Moise Keane. I think he's our biggest loss. But I also just think it's because we've got nowhere to fit the ball ladder. And I do think this is a good move for his career. And I will be keeping an eye on him in the future.
Yeah, I mean, I hope him all the best. Like I said, really, really liked him. We move on to a couple of the. We'll do. I tell you what, we'll do one more player who went on an undisclosed, which we reckon we're going to get 5 million compensation. Then we'll rattle through a couple of the loans and end on the loan but money outing. Thierry Small, undisclosed, Southampton. I think the rumour is we'll get 5 million compensation for this one. Talk me through your thoughts on Thierry Small. Obviously, I know you said you didn't want to judge players till they played for the first team. This lad had a real buzz about him.
Yeah, he did. I was excited, but as I said, I don't like to be off my seat or this is going to be our best player since Wayne Rooney sort of thing because it never ends well. Like ever since then, who has it ended well for? Look where Barkley is now. I love Davis, but look where Davis is now. I don't when I see, and I think when he played for the first team against Sheffield Wednesday, even in the short amount of time he played well. But even I don't even think he was the best youth player to play for us that game. I think Onyango was better. I think but I do think he's going to play for Southampton. I think he will get Premier League games this season. And you know what? I don't know about the attitude problem. A lot of people say because in the end, I don't think he ever expected that he'd be the second left back this season. And I think for him it was, what can you offer me? And yeah, listen, he was never going to start over Digne. And I think deep down he knew that. But in the end, the lad's banking on himself. And I can't give him crap for that because in the end, it's not like he, ripped up a contract with us. He was on what is it? Would you say it's like a scholarship thing?
Yeah, he was on a youth contract, wasn't he?
A youth contract. He was, even while playing for us, he was offered deals from United, all these other clubs, which the rumoured they still offered to him, and he chose Southampton. And I think we know why he chose Southampton because he's going to get playing time. Look at Livramento from Chelsea. Southampton, I do think, have got too young. I believe Livramento's English too. He might be somewhere else, but I think he's still technically classed as English right now. I think, within 2 years' time, I think they'll both be the starting fullbacks for Southampton. I think Small could even, because who's the left back now? It's not Bertrand anymore.
No, I can't. The name's evaded me, but it's another young lad. It's another young lad at the back for Southampton.
Southampton left back. It's not Walker Peters. That's the right back. I don't know. I'm going to keep scrolling while I'm talking to try to figure it out. But yeah, I think is it Perard?
Yeah, it is. That's it. It's Perard.
Yeah, for example, that I don't think he's going to. I think Small's got I think with Southampton, one thing they offer that we don't is a clear path to the first team. I think he knows he's going to play first team football. And I mean, here he is. He's already registered as a member of the first team for Southampton, number 16. You know, would he have been that for us this season? Yeah. Did the lad know that? No. And I think by the time he knew that, he'd already signed for Southampton. I think, don't get me wrong, he might look at it now and go, oh, I would actually play for Everton this season. I might wish I went back. But I wish him the best. I think people over-exaggerated it a little bit because, if I were in his position and I were getting offered contracts by Man United and stuff, I think I'd have my head turned too. But I wish him all the best. I think he's going to have a fantastic career. And I think 5 million compensation, in the end, it might look a bad deal in the future. But 5 million for someone who's still on a youth contract, that's 5 million that helps us out massively. And, maybe we could have tried to get a buyback clause from Southampton, but at the same time, it's a youth contract. There's not much we can do. So I think in the end, it's just something we've got to live and learn with these young players that I think Small realised with our academy. There's no clear path to the first team anymore. There's not. And I think Small realised that and he trusts himself to bank on his career, and I don't blame him.
Yeah, I mean, I really like him. I think, I like the look of him, like the hype of him, and I think Southampton's a really good move. I can see why people were annoyed. I think it's more we're annoyed because he's gone, and he could be, he could be the next big thing, and we've let him slip through our fingers. But I don't blame him for going. Like you said, he wanted first team football. I think he'll get it to Southampton. I saw a couple of people say, "Why has he gone there?" Because like you said, he was linked with United. I think everyone thought he was going to go to United. And then people were like, why has he gone there? Look at him, hasn't he made a mistake? But I don't think he has. I think United wouldn't have played him. I think Southampton, just because of how little money they have, lack of depth, and also because they're notorious for, giving their youth a chance. I think he'll get games.
He'll definitely play in the cups. Like the
Yeah.
cups and stuff. Like I bet he played the other day. Like I bet while you talk, if I Google, they just beat someone 9-0 in the cup. 8-0, sorry, Newport. If I check the lineups here, I don't know if he was signed by them, but he didn't play, but I don't think he was on. I don't know if he'd signed by them, but I think he will in the cups. Then through to the next round of the EFL Cup. If someone gets injured, he'll probably play. They might play Walker Peters left back and then someone right back ahead of him. But there's a very clear path. He knows what he's been getting. He's probably been promised it by Southampton, and Southampton will develop him as a youth prospect. So in the end, it's not him having a bad attitude. It's the mistakes we've made in the past with youth players catching up to us, and we've let a real talent slip through our fingers because of it.
Yeah, I think we potentially could have, we could be looking at this in a couple of years, really kicking ourselves. We'll go through a couple of the loans. There's quite a lot of them. Lewis Gibson to Sheffield Wednesday, Nathan Broadhead to Sunderland. Those two I'm going to bundle in together because they're young lads that we haven't seen an awful lot of. I know we saw a bit more of Broadhead this pre-season. But they're young lads that really, I think, are getting to the age where they should be pushing the first team. And now they're going out on loan to teams I think they'll get first team football at. But realistically, they're getting to ages now where you should hope that they're coming into their own.
Yeah, it's really difficult. Lewis Gibson's someone I like quite a lot. Played 13 times for Reading, 7 of those being starts last season. Yeah, I think personally, I did think the Championship might have been a bit of a step up for him. I think he needs a full season in League One first. And Gibson is at Sheffield Wednesday, isn't he? Correct? Yeah, and Broadhead's at Sunderland. No, Burton was last season, I think. Sunderland.
Yeah, he's at Sunderland this year.
Yeah, I think it's good moves for both of them. Sheffield Wednesday, Darren Moore's a fantastic coach. Don't know if he'll play every game. I don't know if he will even start. Because I think Sheffield Wednesday have still got some decent, like of their Championship squad, they've still got both centre-backs, I think. Don't think they lost any of them. Like if I just get their loss against Moore come up, Gibson not even on the bench. But I think this is the problem. They've still got Iorfa and Palmer. We need to be saying to these clubs, he needs to be playing every game, even if that means it's a lower down. Because I think we look at Sheffield Wednesday and go, well, they're going to get promoted. Like, for example, or it's because Dennis, I can't say his, I forgot how to say his name now. Dennis Adeniran, I think.
Yeah.
He plays. I mean, he scored an own goal, but he plays. So I think it's just us looking, they might get promoted this season. Send him on loan. I don't know if Broadhead plays for Sunderland. This is going to be another one where I have to quickly Google Sunderland and check. But again, the 3-1 game against Wickham lineups. No, not he's on the bench at least, but it's kind of more understandable at a team like Sunderland. I think we need to be sending them to teams where they're guaranteed a lot of first team football. And yeah, maybe if Stewart gets injured, who's their frontman who scored a brace against Wickham, then maybe we'll see him be the backup striker. But I think that's one problem we do. We keep them in the under 23s because we want to win Premier League 2. Who cares? Let me put it simply. No one cares about Premier League 2 except the parents of the people who watch their kids play. No one cares. So it's just, no offense to the players, but I think people watch it to see the youth players who are going to get progressed into the first team, not a bunch of 23-year-olds who are past it for the first team. I think that's one problem Everton really need to look at. And, Broadhead's even a name that kind of fits that. He's we only started sending him on loan properly when he was like 21. You know what I mean? It's like, and you just look at it and you go, for example, I'm not saying we should become a Chelsea because Chelsea have only recently started showing a path to the first team, personally, in my opinion. But even you look at them and it's, steady loans, steady progression, then they might be brought into the first team or sold. It's not a model that a lot of people like, but I think it's a model Everton need to take. We've got a lot of players coming in. We've got a very, we've got an academy with high reputation. So I think we need to be bringing in. So, for example, the under 23s realistically should be a bunch of 18, 19, 20-year-olds with the odd exception of a 21, 22-year-old who maybe can't get in the first team and we're waiting to loan them out. I think that's the system we need to take. And I just think the system we put Gibson and Broadhead are two players who might be stuck in the Championship for their careers not because of their talent, but because of our negligence, in my opinion.
Well, I mean, Luke Garbett was always a sign for me of someone who shouldn't have been in the youth system nearly as much as he was.
And when we loaned him out to Oxford, it was too late.
Yeah, he should have been gone a lot sooner. Well, there's just three more left. Joe Virginia and Niels and Kunku. We'll do again together because for me, they're two young lads that I think we probably could have done with keeping. I know Joe Virginia has supposedly got a buy-on clause for Sporting Lisbon. Niels and Kunku, as far as I'm aware, hasn't. But two lads that we sent out on loan to two good clubs, but you could argue maybe shouldn't have been allowed to go anywhere.
Nkunku, yes. Virginia, I think going out on loan without the option to buy would have been a good thing. I don't know if he's going to start for Sporting, but I think he's a good keeper. I think he should, because I think a lot of our fans looked at him for his spell at Reading, where he was benched because he just. But it's another example of him getting loaned out late, and due to just a complete lack of any sort of first team football, struggling. Nkunku, I wish he stayed. But I do think he's going to have a belter of a season in Belgium. I think he might be arguably one of Belgium's best left backs this campaign. I think it'll really help us. I just hope he isn't so good that he starts to attract attention from other clubs, and then we lose our backup left back, because I do think that's what he is, and I do think he's a good. I do honestly, from what I've seen from the raw potential, I think we've already got our left back built in to replace Digne when he eventually leaves, because I do think I don't think we're going to keep on to Digne for more than 2 seasons. I think one club will eventually come and offer big money for him. PSG have been sniffing around him for a few years now about taking him back. And I think they're just waiting to pull the trigger, to be honest with you. So I think we need to make sure Nkunku knows that there will be first team football next season. And I think we shouldn't have loaned him out, but it is probably the best for his career. And if Fabian Delph can, show a bit of an attitude change, I don't think it's the end of the world. If Fabian Delph puts some effort in, he's a good backup left back, in my opinion. But that's the problem, is we're loaning someone hoping that a veteran player will put some effort in. But I think it's a good move for Nkunku for the future of his career at Everton, because I think it'll give him the first team experience he needs going into next season. Virginia, I don't know, because I think he really could have been a good backup. And don't get me wrong, what's the buyout? Is it like 5 million?
Yeah, I think it's something around that figure.
5 million for a backup keeper's not bad. But at the same time, if he has a belter of a season out in Portugal and then leaves for 5 million, we're going to look like idiots. So it's an iffy situation. I think we shouldn't have put a buyout just in case the risk of that is, for example, let's say he's Portugal's best keeper in the league, and then we could have got double the money for him if we didn't put a buyout. But yeah, I think it's a difficult one to judge until later on in the season, I'd say.
No problem. And the final one is Moise Keane, which has an obligation to buy, which means the money is available for us. We obviously didn't spend all of it or any of it on deadline day. But you know, there's time in January to spend that money now. Talk me through that. I'm very much aware that me and you are big fans of the fee that he's managed to get, bearing in mind, okay, did well at PSG, but if you were going off his Everton career, the lad didn't really deserve. I would say if you were going off his Everton career, the lad probably didn't deserve the fee we got for him. So talk me through this, because I know you're a big fan of the fee we got.
I am almost 40 million. I believe it's 38 million euros, which if I do this again, 38 million
It works to about 34, 35 if you
euros in
convert it.
pounds. There you go. It's the first thing that comes up. 33 million, basically. So we haven't made a lot of profit on him, but in the end, he's had no career at Everton. Let's put it nicely, little lad. No career, and we've profited off him. I think, with the market we're in, maybe if we weren't in the COVID situation, PSG would have paid 45 million for him, 50 million for him, but we're not. So I think we made good money on him, money we desperately needed. I think getting the fee we got was smart. I think a lot of people looked at the time, saw 25 million and went, oh, here we go. Brand's doing bad business, and then they didn't realize the loan fees involved, the add-ons involved. It's smart business for a player who doesn't want to be here. It's big money for someone who doesn't want to be here, who will he'll play for Juventus more than likely. He'll be I can't well no, will he play for Juventus even? Because Dybala. So I don't know, for someone who might not even play for Juventus. So I think Brands has done a fantastic job. We're both big fans of the fees, but we're also big fans of Keane in general. I think we both wish it could have worked out a lot better. But it's like I said on the stream the other day, it's going to be a blip in his career. And in the end, we've made money on him. Money that could, for all we could see in January, could really help us. So I think we have to wait to see what the money's spent on before we can judge it. But for example, if we spend 30 million on crap, then we're going to look back at this deal and go, it was awful because look what we replaced him with. I think in January, if we sign someone, that'll be the real test of was selling Moise Keane a good decision or not.
Yeah, I agree, mate. Like you said, we're both big fans. Wish it worked out. It never. And looking at the initial fee, I know there was add-ons, but the initial fee was like 25 million that we got him for. So, we've sort of nearly made. If you add on the add-ons, we probably lost a couple of million. But in the grand scheme of things, we were just on about Yannick Bolasie. We lost 30 million completely on. So it's not the worst bit of business in the world. Now we'll go to the ins. This bit will be very, very brief. So let's start with Andros Townsend on a free from Crystal Palace. And I don't mind Andros. I would have preferred if he was our backup right winger. Now he probably is going to be our right winger. As a backup, I really like this though. What are your thoughts on Townsend?
I love it personally. At first I was a bit iffy, but when I first started doing streams with you guys, I was saying give it a chance before we start judging it. And I think he looks like a good leader. We know he can even he's showing now he can still swing one hell of a crossing. I think the corners are a bit iffy right now, but to be fair, I don't think he even expected to be starting. I don't know if he will necessarily still be the starter too. Depends if Iwobi continues his form or not. I could really see Iwobi picking up and nailing down the spot at least until January. I think it's a really good deal on a free. He's on quite low wages. Yeah, he's 30, but he's there to be a senior member of the squad. And it's as we were saying, you need senior members of the squad. I don't think we had enough. And I think, two signings we made on freeze on deadline day that we'll talk about later. Fantastic because of the leadership they'll bring. I think Andros Townsend's going to have a big impact on Everton this season, even if that's just in, a changing room sense. I think it's a fantastic deal. And I think Crystal Palace are really going to miss his leadership because I think their approach is just, it's the football manager approach. Is as soon as you hit older than 28, you need to leave, unless your name's Wilfred Zaha. So I think it's quite interesting. I think Townsend's going to have a big impact for us.
Yeah, I mean, from what I've seen so far, I like it more and more. I had him down as a hard worker. He's always got a rocket in his pocket, in terms of a goal. But yeah, I mean, I like it. I would have preferred him to be. I would have preferred us to get a full-time right winger for first team right winger. But there's here or there.
Could be
As
January.
well, yeah, there's always January. There's always January. Asmir Begovic from Bournemouth on an undisclosed. This is the only reason I said about the João Virginia loan. It feels a bit daft now, but obviously we've got Begovic to replace Olsen of last season, who I'm not massively against. I don't think his contract's very long. I think it's probably a year. Give me your thoughts on this one, Cal.
So we're talking about Florida Cup goal scorer and penalty saving goalkeeper Asmir Begovic here. I think it's really good. I think just listening to him speak, and I think I think a lot of people don't remember how good Begovic was at Stoke. Begovic was one of the most underrated keepers in the Premier League at Stoke, an absolute beast. It was why he got the move to Chelsea. Unfortunately, he got sat on the bench, but I do believe at first they wanted him to be. It was either a replacement for Czech or to contend with Thibaut Courtois for a spot in that team. Unfortunately, it didn't work out like that, but I think he's a good person to have. If, for example, if it doesn't work out with Virginia and he ends up coming back, he's someone to learn from. I think Pickford can learn a lot from Begovic. I think a lot of people may think, well, Pickford's England's number one, Pickford's this, Pickford's that. It doesn't matter who it is, you can still learn from them due to experience. He's going to play cup games, and I think he might play 3 games in the Premier League, but he's capable. He can do a job, and I think, yeah, again, he's one of those senior heads to have in the changing room that'll really help with the atmosphere of the club. So I think, yeah, again, another good signing. Dirt cheap wages on and on free. You can't complain.
Yeah, I mean, the only negative I've had of him so far is the kicking is a little bit off slightly, but I mean, that's nitpicking. And compared to Jordan Pickford, his kicking was always going to be somewhat off to fans. The next one is up for Player of the Month, and seems so far it's only a month in, so I don't want to get too carried away and give him the curse. But seems to be a very, very good, astute bit of business, and that is Damari Gray for 1.8 million from Bayer Leverkusen. I mean, you can't hate this, surely.
No. He's the best English/Jamaican winger to come from Bayer Leverkusen this summer. The best. No, I think it's quite funny, isn't it? Because if you look at it, it's kind of Leon Bailey light when we signed him. Oh, we can't get Bailey. Damari Gray will do. He's been fantastic. I didn't expect this. I didn't expect that Damari Gray would be in my fantasy team after the second game of the season. You know what I mean? It's it's quite ridiculous, really. 1.8 million. It is. Let's face it. He's by miles the cheapest player up for Player of the Month.
Yeah.
Like I'm trying to think who's up for Player of the Month. So there's
Eric Dyer.
Actually, Eric Dyer's been pretty good. Actually,
Mikel Antonio is another
yeah,
one.
I was gonna try and make, but even like Mikel Antonio, like if Mikel Antonio went to West Ham for what, probably like 8 or 9 million, to say you can fit 4 Damari Grays into one Mikel Antonio deal or something like that, for example. I'm not saying he's as good as Antonio, because Antonio's, in my opinion, he might be the most underrated player in the Premier League, but that's probably another topic for another day. But yeah, I think it's if he keeps this up even to half of the level he's playing now, just half, I think it's still bargaining of the summer, because you don't find many 2 million players that are going to contribute to. I think he will contribute to around 12 to 15 goals this year. I don't think, even maybe not in just the Premier League, but I do think he's going to have a big impact, and his work rate's good. You can tell he's worked on his finishing, because, you know, a lot of people are like, calm down, it's only a month. But you know when someone's improved on their end product. You know, because all he did, I can use the Brighton goal, looked up at Robert Sanchez for a second, looked straight back down at the ball, placed it perfectly. Yeah, he might have a few awful errors, but it's like someone said, oh, well, Iwobi scored 2 in 2 for us and then went 50-something games without scoring. Don't think Damari Gray is going to do that. I think Damari Gray is going to constantly be involved in the game for us. And I think it is, if he keeps up, it's probably up there for one of the best signings we've made in the past 5 years, personally.
Yeah, I really like him. I hope it continues. He's what we needed, which was a lot of pace down that side. I think that's the bit that's won fans over, is that we've got a winger who's actually fast. Um, but yeah, I really like Damari Gray and hope all the best. Hopefully, he wins Player of the Month as well, because that'd be fantastic for him. The next one, I personally don't think we'll see him play. He's not played for any of his last two clubs, and I don't think we will see him play. Andy Lonergan, on a free from West Brom. I think this is just in case Begovic and Pickford get injured, which is very unlikely, which is why I think he'll play no appearances.
I think he's just there to sit in the reserves, and it's like Rob Green for Chelsea.
Scott
It's
Carson
like
for City
Scott Carson for City.
and
You
Lee
know, it's
Grant
like
for
Lee
United,
Grant
isn't
for
it?
United.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's like, and the thing is, I still see our fans complaining about it. The guy's not gonna play,
No, I mean, I
and I
think
guarantee he's working less than 10 grand a week. I guarantee he's making less than 10 grand a week.
he's probably, if I was him, I'd probably retire after this season. But I think he's only bought because our under 21s keeper, Harry
Well, he was free as well.
is injured.
Didn't
Um,
cost anything.
no, he came on a free. I think he'll leave on a free. Um, I, I mean, it's hard
It's
to speak because I don't think he will play.
I don't think there's any compliments or any criticism for it. It's just there. It just happened. It's clear for the reason. He's being paid pennies in football terms to sit in, maybe give a bit of advice to Pickford, because on his day, I think for Preston, I remember he used to be
That
quite
was his
good.
best spell, yeah. That was his best
Yeah,
spell.
and I think he's just there to might be a good locker room presence. Locker room's very American, changing room. Um, just there to maybe keep the morale up, to just sit there in his coat and smile for the camera when it shows him every 20 games.
Yeah, like you said, there's not much you can say on it because I don't think he's going to. Um, this one though, the deadline day one, we waited a whole day on the Toffee Blues. We did a stream as well from 8 till 11, so we waited an extra 4 hours on stream for this one. And somehow, although it was linked the day before, it still ended up going right to the last couple of hours before being announced. If not, I think it was in the last hour. Solomon Rondon on a free. I spoke about this yesterday on the channel for the video for his reaction. I'm not against this. I think the tease of Edouard made me a little bit like disappointed, but that doesn't change my opinion on this. I think this is a very, I'm not going to say good, but it's a very logical transfer. And I think he'll suit our style of play very well, especially if Calvert-Lewin gets injured. It's like for like, only Calvert-Lewin's a lot more mobile. I'm not going to do Calvert-Lewin dirty and say he's not mobile or quicker, he is. But they are very like to like in terms of their very physical and aerial presence. So let us have your thoughts on Solomon Rondon, the Salamander as he's been dubbed.
You know what? I knew it was going to happen, and I was always for it. I was always for it. He's a good. Anyone who says he's not a good backup is ridiculously out of their mind. His goal scoring record was every 1 in 3 for a backup striker. What do you expect? I think we live in a very thing where someone will Google Ronaldo's stats and then they use that as the benchmark. No, in the end, it's a good deal. Once again, probably dirt cheap wages. I don't know if they're on the internet to be found yet, but probably dirt cheap wages. Knows how Rafa Benitez's system works. Will fit right in with us. We can get him service. He'll battle for every ball. He said it himself. His main goal for Everton is to fight for the shirt, to fight for the colour. That is it, and that's all we want. I think that's all. I don't think actually, I do. I think our fans ask for a lot, but I think when you're actually at the stadium, the fans don't ask for a lot. If we're watching him live and he starts throwing his body around to win the ball, he'll get a reaction. He won't play, probably. But I think he misses the first few games anyway because he's with Venezuela right now. I think that's why it might have been difficult to get it done to the last second. But yeah, I think it's going to be in the same light of Townsend. There's going to be a bit of criticism at first. When he'll get his first few games under his belt, I guarantee within his first 3 games he scores for us. I'll happily put that. I'll die by that sword. I do think he will because I just think he's that sort of player. I think, it's kind of like the Calvert-Lewin thing where if Digne whips in a good cross, he'll beat quite a lot of defenders to the ball because it just how relentless he is to fight for it. And yeah, he's 31, but in the end, he's here to be a backup, possibly a third stringer, even behind Richarlison as a 9. So I don't think it brings anything negative in. I think once again, it's smart, free business to not to fill the changing room, to fill the changing room with a few older heads who can give advice, can be the moral compasses of the team. And I really do think, we've done good business personally, and I think Rondon's another example of that.
Not a problem. Well, that is all our ingoings and outgoings and our summaries of them. I'd just like to say thank you very much for watching. If you could please like the video, subscribe to the channel if you're not. Don't forget to share it with your friends and family and everyone else. Comment down below as well on anything we discussed today on our ins and outs. Give us a summary of what you think about our window, a couple of the ins and outs. Don't forget, if you do want any of your Everton merchandise, cups, mugs, t-shirts, shorts, any of it, you can get it through the Everton direct link in the description down below. And we have joined up, which is quite exciting, with football prizes. And for the very astute price of, I believe it is £4.95, you can buy a ticket to be entered into a raffle to have the chance to win a signed and framed goalkeeper Everton shirt signed by England's #1, Jordan Pickford. So don't forget, I think the link will be in the description down below, but don't forget to check that out. Buy your ticket. You never know. You could be in with a shout. You've got to buy a ticket to win the raffle.